In the name of the people, the Supreme Court of the Peoples Republic of Croatia in Zagreb, a council composed of judges of the Supreme Court, chaired by Žarko Vimpulšek as President of the Council, on the 11th day of October, 1946, issues the following verdict. The second accused, Dr. Aloysius Stepinac, is hereby sentenced to 16 years imprisonment and forced labor, and is deprived of all civil rights for a period of 5 years.
They brought him here on October the 19th, 1946. Many prison wardens recounted how prisoner Governor Stepinac went to see him in his cell on that day and asked, "What would you like for dinner?" Stepinac replied, "I'm here as a convict. I cannot have any wishes." His martyrdom gave people a certain strength to survive, to bear it, patience and hope. That hope always emanated from him. A Stepinac is what the Croatian people miss today. Somebody with a moral authority, somebody who all the people could trust. He was always a misfit in a system that aimed to be wholly totalitarian, and not only rule over the whole of society, but also over the people's consciences. And that had nothing to do with a Catholic perspective, nor with an archbishop's rule. Aloysius Stepinac didn't just become a symbol for the Croatian people, for whom he was a beacon of light, but a symbol for the whole of Europe and perhaps even for the world, of how to defend the faith and the Church in times that are so very politically and socially complex.
Comrades, this court case finally provides an opportunity for those who have been misled to turn back, to gain an understanding of the gravity of the crime of which Dr. Stepinac is accused, that they might understand.
Stepinac has been imprisoned, was whispered about, and yet the trial against his whole group had already begun, including his secretary and Modesto Martincic, our provincial, 6 Franciscans in all. It was a big trial held in a gym. I listened to the trial over the radio. I cried. And I remember Stepinac's voice. I remember how aggressively Prosecutor Blažević and Judge Vimpulšek interrupted him.
During the show trial, the Yugoslav Communists Court accused Dr. Aloysius Stepinac of criminal acts, political collaboration with the enemy occupying forces, undermining the country's political system, and hostile propaganda. A special section of the indictment against him dealt with war crimes, the forceful religious conversion of Serbs and Jews between 1941 and 1945.
When the German troops first arrived in Jelačić Square, film documentaries show this. The crowd was elated, cried out, and threw flowers on the tanks. They wanted a Croatian state above all else. As Croatia's independence was being constituted, all Croats welcomed and accepted the new political reality wholeheartedly, as it finally recognized the Croatian people's undoubted right to self-government. Both Archbishop Stepinac and all the remaining bishops welcomed the founding of the new state with satisfaction. But many were bitterly disappointed when on May the 22nd, 1941, the government issued an order in accordance with Germany and Hitler's decree, obliging the Jews to wear something like a yellow rag with a black Jewish sign.
No anti-Semitism. I never felt it before the war. It all started overnight. We had to wear a cloth on our back, yellow with a black letter J. We had to go to the police to get it. Wearing it was dangerous. Not wearing it could mean banishment to a camp.
That really incensed Stepinac, Archbishop at the time, and he immediately objected publicly.
Neither concubines, nor adulterers, or even harlots are stigmatized with any visible mark. If, therefore, we do not ask this of people whose actions offend society, why do we ask this of people who bear no guilt, members of another race?
Cardinal Stepinac.
Cardinal Stepinac saved one of our girls who was the same age as me. She was walking home crying on the street because they had taken her mother away. Her brother was in a secret underground movement in the Communist Party, which was forbidden back then. Her father had been killed, and Stepinac took her by the hand and she told him who she was. He took her in and hid her for 4 years. He, of course, did this secretly. He couldn't make any announcement because they would also have murdered him, and that would have been of no use to anyone.
When they occupied Schwarz's old people's home on Vlaška Street and turned it into the Air Force Ministry, Stepinac took all the Jews from that care home and moved them to Brezovica. Many survived. He managed to move some of them to the island of Rab, whilst others moved to other safe houses.
When persecutions were at their worst, and we were still in our apartment, Stepinac sent us a priest, dressed in civilian clothes, who told us that the Archbishop expected us to come and sleep at the bishop's house, because there were to be raids in the area that night. Enough said, I think.
Immediately before Croatia's proclamation of independence, representatives of the national movement began demonstrating their intolerance towards Serbs. Remembering the crimes committed by the Serbian powers on Croatians and their political representatives in the period between the two world wars, old enmities emerged again in full force, seeking to revenge past wrongs. Upon hearing the news of crimes committed against the Serbs, the Archbishop of Zagreb reacted sharply in a letter to the Prime Minister Ante Pavelic.
I feel, however, that it is my duty as bishop to raise my voice and say that, in accordance with Catholic morals, this is not permissible. I therefore urge you to take the most immediate action throughout independent Croatia, ensuring that not a single Serb is killed who has not been proved to have committed a crime deserving the death penalty. Otherwise, how can we expect the blessing of heaven, without which we will undoubtedly perish?